This video angered me, so I want to talk about it. I will not keep it long. I would keep it succinct, but it pissed me off royally, so I definitely want to talk about it. Harvey Weinstein has a track record of abuse that is outright astonishing. Goes over the course of decades, and it goes over the course of tens of women, many of which you would know, but ultimately it boiled down to a power distribution from the standpoint of him being a large, fat man, but also that he could destroy your career. And in one situation after the next, he would put women in dramatically uncomfortable positions where he would either sexually abuse them, in some cases rape, in some cases, I need a massage. Now I need you to touch my penis. And if you don't do it, I'm going to ruin your career. And I've ruined these other women's career. It was a system of abuse that for the most part, the office that Harvey Weinstein is just accepted it. And I have a question on how many people knew Weinstein was this way. Clinton knew he was this way. Did Obama? Did Michelle Obama? Did the other Democratic contributors or the people who took his money know that this guy was a monster? I was going through the catalog of women he abused. It is extraordinary. Year after year after year, pulling the same, I need a massage, going to women's hotel rooms or apartments, getting them to come to his hotel room, or meeting him somewhere where he could put them in a situation using threats and outright physical abuse. He is a monster. He is a catalog of women, meaning abuse victims. That is extraordinary. He was able to go on year after year after year, abusing one woman after the next, after the next, after the next, with Democrats taking his money and him continuing to abuse women, with them taking his money and him continuing to abuse women. How many of these people knew that he was doing this? Decades. Year after year after year. I thought Weinstein, if I'm being honest, was already in prison. That's how bad this stuff is. You have some situations where he would answer the door in a bathrobe and say, "Oh, my back hurts. I need you to touch me, a massage." And despite them saying no, he would push himself on them, in some cases touching them inappropriately, in other cases, especially for the ones that are dramatically unlucky, outright rape. Weinstein has been lurking about, not in prison, and ended up at a comedy club. Well, this is interesting. The comedian who steps on stage, a woman named Kelly Bachman, sees Harvey Weinstein in that audience, and she felt a duty to humanity to call out the fact that there's a rapist in the audience. There's a man who's a monster who's been abusing women for the course of decades in the audience. Why are we going to pretend as if that monster is not sitting in the audience? I think that's the most sensible and sane thing in the world to do, considering who's in the audience and the crimes that he has committed, that he is essentially being tried for. Why wouldn't you call it out? The fact that you know it, the fact that you know the crimes, the catalog of women that he's abused over the years, the dramatic uncomfort that he has caused in the lives of these various people, why wouldn't you call it out? That guy's a monster. That guy's a rapist, and he's in the audience. The interesting point here is not the fact that she called it out, believe it or not, because, again, why wouldn't you? He spent his life making women dramatically uncomfortable, and a woman is in a position to make him dramatically uncomfortable, and she takes the opportunity to do so. Why would I care in this case? I consider that God's work. The interesting point here is the response of the audience. What do you think the response of the audience is going to be? What do you think the response of the audience is going to be? There's a monster lurking about in the audience, an outright rapist and a sexual abuser that at this point has a catalog of women that is in the 20s or 30s. Everybody knows it. It's not a secret. It's not something that's hidden. It's not something that's this guy can kind of make his appearances and nobody knows about it. Everybody knows. What do you think the audience response is going to be? It's not going to be to your pleasing, and it damn sure wasn't to mine. Welcome to the Soapbox.
Anybody?
My name is Jamarl Thomas. This is the Progressive Soapbox. Guys, if you dig this content, like, share, subscribe. You can always support PayPal, Patreon. This video will be instantly demonetized. So in real terms, it's brought to you by you. Despite this video being monetized, I was greatly disturbed by this video. Honestly so. The notion that some man would throw himself on the fire to defend an outright rapist and a monster makes you just as bad as that rapist and monster. You know his sins. Like, this is not a situation where you don't know who this person is. This person has gone through his life using his power in the position to which he found himself in order to use that power to get sex, or for that moment, take sex from various women who found him utterly and entirely disgusting. Bachman calls it out. Watch the response.
Yeah. I'm a comic. I'm feeling a little tense. Anybody else? Yeah. I'm a comic. And it's our job to name the elephant in the room. Do we know what that is? Yeah, it's a Freddy Krueger in the room, if you will. I didn't know that we have to bring our own maze and rape whistles to Actors Hour, y'all. No? No? Oh, shut up. Yeah. This kills at group therapy for rape survivors. They love it. Yeah.
Yeah, girl!
Yeah, I have been raped, surprisingly, by no one in this room, but I've never gotten to confront those guys, so just a general fuck you to whoever
Yes, girl!
I love this woman. I love this woman. I love this woman. Think about it for the moment. She gets the opportunity to confront a man who is an out-and-out apex rapist, just an outright disgusting and despicable human being. And in the ability to confront him, she makes him uncomfortable. And somebody in the audience flips out and boos her in her doing this. Now, what does this mean for the person? What type of person is this? What is the individual psyche that allows a person to say, I know this guy is a rapist and I am still going to boo her for calling out this rapist? Let's watch it one more time. This video is amazing to me. Shout out to Bachman for calling his ass out and pointing to it. And for the disgusting piece of shit that boos her in this. I hope you can hear about bus. I am amazed that knowing this, knowing all of his sins, or at the very least some of his sins, you still find the need to protect him. Astonishing. Outright astonishing.
I'm feeling a little tense. Anybody else? Yeah. I'm a comic. And it's our job to name the elephant in the room. Do we know what that is? Yeah, it's a Freddy Krueger in the room, if you will. I didn't know that we have to bring our own maze and rape whistles to Actors Hour, y'all. No?
Those are multiple pieces of shit. Not just one. Boo! Boo! How dare you call out the fact that there is an apex predator in the audience. I read those stories. And I found familiarity in those stories. I was sexually assaulted when I was a kid. When I was very, very young. I'm an odd person to some degree because I never consider that my fault. In fact, I found anger as a really good substitute against the individual that caused it because I know that I didn't do shit to cause it. I wasn't wearing a dress. I wasn't fanning around with my ass of sorts. I guess my point is this. I didn't say anything from the time I was 8 to the time I was about 24. And the only reason I even said something at the time I was 24 is because I was laying on a bed and they thought I was going to die. And my thought was I should, at very least, tell somebody before I croak. Well, I didn't necessarily croak. I didn't entirely think I was going to croak, even though the doctors are kind of looking in those terms. But I guess my point is this. From my own personal experience, I found no need to say anything to anybody because A, I didn't consider it my fault. B, the person who was responsible, the anger was there. And even then, I didn't necessarily consider it something that affected my life per se, one way or the other, in the sense that I didn't see it as my fault. That said, I still didn't say shit about it. And it was still embarrassing in the sense that it happened, despite the fact that it was a kid, despite the fact that I knew it wasn't my fault. In which case, I didn't feel the need to say anything. I get where they're coming from in the way that they talk about this stuff. And the notion that there will be some guy out there that knows his sins, multiple guys, and still feel the need to throw themselves on the fire to protect Harvey Weinstein. I find that utterly and outright disgusting. And almost some level, more disgusting than Weinstein itself, because that's the person they're throwing themselves on the fire for. Many of the women that were talking about the Weinstein thing felt regret, felt embarrassment, felt sadness. They was like, oh God, I should have did this, I should have did that. All of this kind of thinking back in terms. You shouldn't think any of that stuff. None of that stuff in real terms was your fault. Some right-winger said, oh, they shouldn't have went up to the apartment. Get the fuck out of here. Ultimately, this guy essentially used his power in order to assault various women and almost turned it into a business model of sorts in the way that he normalized how he acted on this stuff. I'm astonished by this video. Honestly, I am astonished by this video. And maybe in my head, people or men aren't this despicable. I guess what I mean is, even in political terms, everybody knows this guy's a rapist. Everybody knows this guy has abused tens and tens of women over the course of decades and has turned this into this kind of normalization of the way he abuses women. Everybody knows it. Everybody knows it. And in the moment that she's doing her act and she's pointing out this guy saying, you have fucked over women royally. And now that I get the opportunity to tell you what I think about that, I am going to do so. And by the way, this is not out of character of comedians. Paul Mooney, my wife and I were at a Paul Mooney concert or a comedian thing. Paul Mooney is on stage and he looks at a woman who's on the front row and he said, baby, nobody loved you enough to tell you not to come out the house to looking like that. Comedians engage their audience. If he is brazen enough to A, walk out the house, and B, come to a comedy show, he is fair fucking game. And she is doing God's work, calling his ass out. Clap of the hands to Bachman.
No? Oh, shut up. Yeah. This kills at group therapy for rape survivors. They love it. Yeah.
Woo! Woo! Yeah, girl!
Yeah, I have been raped, surprisingly, by no one in this room, but I've never gotten to confront those guys, so just a general fuck you to whoever
Yes, girl!
When she was talking about this, she said, I really wish I could have went harder on ragging him, and I really wish you would have went harder on ragging on him also. It shouldn't be a skew in the audience. It shouldn't be women supporting her and men supporting the rapists. What the fuck? Like, are you fucking serious? You have a rapist in the audience and the men are like, shh, boo, shut up. Shut up about calling out this rapist. And the women giving her support. I'm sorry, that's massively fucked up. That's It's massively fucked up. And I'm saying this as a guy. That is massively fucked up. Like, share, subscribe. Robert Pouquet Ray Weinstein should be like the rest of us guys and fill water balloons with applesauce to fend off rogue squirrels. What the hell? I have no idea what that means. Yeah, you can imagine if you were in the country club and sitting next to you is Harvey Weinstein or O.J. Simpson. Talk about turning awkward avenue. Sean McCoy. Yes, awkward to say the least. By the same token, when the comedian starts calling that person out, the notion that you would sit there and boo and hiss her and tell her to shut up about calling out the fact that there's a predator in the audience, I find that to be extraordinary. That's why I find this clip to be so dispiriting. The men in the audience are cheering for the rapist and the women in the audience are cheering for the comedian. I'm sorry, that's embarrassing. Like, share, subscribe.